2026. Igbo said the new year should mark a turning point for the Igbo people, stressing that truth must be spoken plainly and without fear. The Ohaneze Youth Council (OYC) has urged the Igbos in Nigeria's southeast region to begin preparation for an eventual exit from Nigeria, citing decades of marginalization, unresolved post-Civil War injustice, insecurity, and what it termed the failure of the Nigerian state. The call was contained in a New Year message issued on January 1st, 2026 by the national president of the Ohaneze Youth Council, Igbo. Igbo said the new year should mark a turning point for the Igbo people, stressing that truth must be spoken plainly and without fear. As we enter a new year, truth must be spoken plainly and without fear, Igbo said, adding that Ndi Igbo have prolonged their suffering in Nigeria like the Jews in Egypt. He urged Igbo people to stop dying in Nigeria and begin preparation mentally, politically, economically, and diplomatically for departure from what he described as a hostile system. Igbo traced what he described as the marginalization of Ndi Igbo to the aftermath of the 1967 to 1970 Civil War, alleging that the reconciliation program announced by the then head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, amounted to continued punishment of the Igbo people. He claimed that the post-war period was marked by economic dispossession, including the policy of returning 20 pounds to Igbo citizens, regardless of the amount held in their bank accounts before the war. According to him, the reconstructions, rehabilitations, and reconciliation 3Rs program was never implemented in any part of Igbo land or Biafra territory. The OIC president said the resurgence of pro-Biafra movement from the movement for the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra, MASOB, to the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, was a direct consequence of unresolved injustice against Ndi Igbo. It did not arise out of hatred or rebellion for its own sake, but from the decades of exclusion, broken promises, and denial of dignity, he said. He also condemned the arrest and continued detention of IPOB leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, describing it as an extraordinary rendition and a violation of international law. Igbo called on the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to grant Kanu unconditional release, saying it would help redeem Nigerians' image before the international community. Igbo further described Nigeria as a state overwhelmed by corruption and economic decay, alleging large-scale looting by political elites, and urging that the country had lost the moral authority to preach unity and patriotism. According to him, Ndi Igbo face political marginalization, economic targeting, and routing profile across the country, leaving no clear hope or future for an Igbo man within the Nigerian political system. Calling on Igbo youth to rise with purpose and clarity, the OYC leader said the council would intensify political mobilization ahead of the 2027 general election in the southeast. We must retire all political saboteurs and oppressors in Igbo land in 2027, he said, adding that elected representatives should support calls for a referendum or plebiscite as a democratic right of the people. Igbo announced that the Ohaneze Youth Council would lead a major campaign for a referendum or plebiscite on self-determination throughout 2026, insisting that the right of the people to freely determine their political future is guaranteed under the international law. He rejected what he described as Nigerians' forced and involuntary unity, urging that the 1914 amalgamation no longer meets the needs of peaceful coexistence. Unity without justice is oppression, and unity without consent is occupation, he said. Describing Nigeria as a failed state plagued by widespread killing, he called on the traditional rulers, town union presidents, and community youth leaders in Igbo land to collaborate in forming vigilante groups to protect lives and property. The OIC president warned against the use of force against campaigners advocating a referendum, saying any form of brutality would be resisted, and cautioning that a repeat of the violence of the Civil War era must be avoided. This new year must mark a decisive shift, he said, adding that history would remember those who spoke when silence was convenient and those who acted when fear was fashionable. All right.